The family of a 5-year-old girl are urging the government not to send children back to school next month until their daughter became seriously ill with a rare Kawasaki-like syndrome linked to COVID-19.
The little girl is called Scarlett Nicholas, and she suffered mild coronavirus symptoms back in March and seemed to recover until she was rushed to hospital last week and put on a ventilator. Thankfully, she is now starting to show signs of improvement. Her stepfather, Piers Roberts, joins us now. Well, Piers, a desperate time for you as a family. I know she's still being cared for in hospital. What sort of a condition is she in right now?
Since yesterday afternoon, she's made vast improvements. Thanks to Leeds Children's Hospital and the NHS generally. I cannot thank them enough at PQs. She's made improvements in an illness which we still don't fully understand and I can only hope is rare.
What happened? She had coronavirus back in March, wasn't it? What sort of symptoms did she have then?
Virus, yes. Obviously, there was no testing. She was sent home from school with a mild temperature. We self-isolated for 2 weeks. We became positive with coronavirus, tested, confirmed. Thought we were out the woods as a household and a family. Therefore, we hope this is a rare complication. But in light of all of what's going on, we need trust and confidence, like Piers said, in order to go back. This doesn't help that debate.
There are over 100 cases of this rare condition now have been identified affecting children in New York City, the mayor said a couple of days ago, and they are very concerned. The governor of New York said he's very concerned and that his initial guidance that it was a disease that doesn't really affect children, he was now changing that, and people had to be aware of it. We've seen a similar spurt in Italy, apparently, with kids there, and obviously now here, including your situation. What have you been told about the likely link between what your little girl is suffering from and COVID-19, given that it's almost certain she will have had the virus, given that you and your partner both tested positive?
The information from Pinderfields Hospital, where she initially went, did an amazing job. We understand that it is a link to the coronavirus. We're not sure what that is fully. We hope with all our might that it is a rare complication. It is not entirely known what this complication is, but in order to raise up some awareness and improve the trust, we need to know if this is a complication which is maybe more prevalent than we are told at the moment.
Piers, can you explain, because we've talked about the symptoms of the coronavirus that she suffered, but what were the symptoms that led you to realise that she hadn't fully recovered and that she was suffering something more serious? What should parents be looking out for?
I cannot comment on what parents should be looking out for because I do not understand the disease process. I am not.
But what symptoms did your little girl show?
A temperature, nausea, and a stomachache, something which most people with a 5-year-old will see quite often.
That's the problem, isn't it? Now, Piers, you're a music teacher. But you're an ex-nurse and your wife, Naomi, is a stroke consultant. So you're both very familiar with health issues and you're a teacher. Given what's happened to you with your little girl here, what do you feel about this debate about whether we should be opening up schools again?
Well, as a parent, I understand, and as a teacher, I understand it is essential kids get back to school as quick as is safely possible. We know the benefits as a profession, and I know that schools up and down the country are doing everything they can to make it as safe as possible. Outward Grange Academy's Trust, Outward Academy Adwick, where I'm part of, are doing everything they can to make it safe. Teachers want to teach, parents want kids to be in school. The social emotional benefits, let alone the health benefits, are absolutely essential, but trust must be restored to parents and teachers that you cannot eliminate risk entirely, but if these are complications which are potentially there and the science is emerging, we must understand that, and those relationships which will be built in school can only be there if trust is absolutely paramount and returns to this
Well,
debate.
let's bring in Dr. Hillary. We talked about this at the start of the show, Hillary. It's a worrying development, this, isn't it? Because there are families going through this with this unexplained apparent link to COVID-19. We're seeing it in New York, seeing it in Italy. This is a real concern. What do we know about this Kawasaki syndrome?
Right. The fact that this syndrome is occurring in the middle of a pandemic makes it very, very likely that the two things are linked. It appears to be a rare condition where there is an immune reaction which is delayed and occurs about a month or so after exposure to the virus in children particularly. It's similar to the inflammation of blood vessels that occurs in something called Kawasaki disease, which has always been around long before COVID-19. It's rare, affects about 80 in 100,000 children. This syndrome is an inflammatory condition of blood vessels affecting the lungs, the gut, and causes a typical rash and a fever. So very similar to other infectious diseases, so difficult to diagnose for parents and indeed for doctors and nurses. What I would say is that the children in the UK, there's been about 100 children affected that we know of. Most have made a full recovery. Some have been in intensive care, and our heart goes out to, is it Scarlett?
Yeah.
She's a lovely little girl, isn't she? And look at the equipment that was needed to treat her, and we want her to make a quick recovery. But as Piers Roberts says, this will worry parents. What I would say is that it's rare. It's treated in the same way as the Kawasaki disease, with antibodies, with aspirin, with steroids, and sometimes with antivirals. Most children make a full recovery, and it is rare. And the consensus of good, strong, robust evidence and medical opinion is that this should not stop children going back to school. And that is the opinion of Professor Viner, who's the president of the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health.
OK, Piers, you've been through an agony. I've got an 8-year-old girl. You know, I just can't even imagine anything worse than this.
Little girl on a ventilator.
And you've got a little bit of green shoots of hope now and recovery. But how tough has this been for you as a family?
Understandably, it's been the worst situation I've been put in. And my pain pales in comparison to her mother's pain, who's at her bedside all day long, and my respect and love for her is incredible. But again, we need trust, and these situations, like Dr. Hillary says, may be a rare complication to it. It doesn't help the trust of parents putting kids back in schools. It doesn't help teachers with their trust of teaching. However, that trust needs to be there. If it is a rare complication, that is good. But the information, we must stay informed about it so other people do not have to go through this torturous time. Whether a full recovery or not is made, it is a torturous time. And the thought of other families and parents having to go through it is a great shame. So I've said whatever I've needed to say in order to make sure we can have dialogue to get kids back to school and in education in a safe manner, which is being done. I can only speak for Outward Academy, Adric and OGAT Trust, moving mountains to make it as safe as possible.
Well, Piers, listen, I think you've put it very eloquently, and we're all so sorry that you've had to go through this.